Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Life Health Show. I wanted to explain to you some things about being raw vegan long-term successfully. I've been eating a raw vegan diet mostly now for over 20 something years. And I've interviewed when I first started people that have been eating a raw vegan diet for many, many years prior to that. And some of them are still vegan and some of them are not. Over the years, what I've seen is many people fail at doing a raw vegan diet. And I come to the conclusion of why this is happening. There are some things that are super important, especially the longer you get into this. Now, when you first become a raw vegan, you could change and eat just about anything, and it's going to be most likely an improvement than what you were doing. Some people might feel better, some people might not feel better because of detoxification and so on, but it's most likely going to be an improvement in what you're doing. But in the long term, you have to look at what's going on with your blood work to make sure you're getting all you need. So one of the common mistakes I see people making with the raw vegan diet, and the reason why so many people fail after 2 or 3 or maybe 4 years, is because they're not monitoring their blood work. And you would think just because I'm eating fresh, natural, raw, organic fruits and vegetables, I'm getting all the nutrients I need. But that's just not the case. You have to look at how much you're eating and if you're getting enough, and if your body's assimilating these things. And blood work's going to reveal a lot of these things to you. And supplements are a great short-term cure to a long-term problem. But what I see is most people that are getting on a raw vegan diet, they're convinced that they can do it on mostly fruits with a little vegetables, and they don't need supplements because they want to be as natural as possible, and they could just live their life not thinking about things too much, and they'll be fine. And the sad part is that's not the case. You see behind me a bunch of greens that I grow. After many, many years, I continue to work on perfecting the greens I get in my diet and the sprouts I get in my diet. And all I can say is from my track record, I'm good friends with Dr. Fred Bishy, who's been eating a raw vegan diet for longer than anyone I know. And I also interviewed other people that have been successful doing this. And there's several things that they have in common, things that worked. So this idea of a fruitarian diet, and I could eat only fruit, and fruit is going to give me all I need. I mean, you have to look at your environmental factors. You have to look at a lot of things. But what I find is people are eating too much fruit and not enough greens. That's what I find. I haven't met anyone who's been able to do 100% fruit over the years successfully. And, and then there are some people that I know that have been successful with a good amount of fruit, but they're doing what I think is one of the most important things that's left out, and that is exercising. Most people I know in general don't exercise enough, and people I know that switch to a raw vegan diet aren't exercising at all. There are many different types of exercise. I know a lot of people do stretching and yoga and things like this, but if that's all you're doing, you're missing out on many of the other types of exercise. And if I know a lot of people that jog and run, if that's all you're doing, you're missing out on the other types of exercise. From my experience and from what I've seen with people, weight-bearing exercises are not done enough, and it's essential to keep your bones healthy. It's essential to keep your body healthy, and you're going to get less of the essential amino acids on a raw vegan diet, most likely, unless you're really, really tuning in on things. And you really, really need to do the weight-bearing exercises. And whether that's calisthenics, whether it's pull-ups, whether it's push-ups, or weight-bearing exercises, you need to do weight-bearing exercises like some weights at a gym or calisthenics and so on. So the few people I know that have been successful at a long-term raw vegan diet, that's what they had in common. They had all exercises, but weight-bearing exercise was definitely part of their program. The other thing I found is the amount of sleep we get. For me personally, this is the most important thing that I feel immediately if I don't get enough sleep. Getting enough sleep is essential, and I said from my first book and all the other books, sleeping is where your body heals and your blood cleanses. And, we're going to need less sleep if we're eating a better diet, but we still need enough sleep. And depending on all the other factors, it's going to determine how much sleep we actually need. But most people, I find from my experience, are not getting enough sleep. Eating late at night, eating too many stimulating foods. These things are going to keep people from the false impression that they're getting enough uh, energy or enough food, but they're not. It's a false stimulation. When you're getting enough sleep, you don't need to eat a lot. You just need to eat the right foods. You don't need stimulants to keep you awake, whether it's chocolate or coffee or things like this. And when you go to sleep at night, you're going to go to sleep just fine. So that's another thing. Uh, you know, the recipes and the detoxing and so on, that can be, unless you're dealing with a serious disease, that can be done over time. It doesn't need to be immediately overnight. I see people doing these long-term fasts, and they rush things. Again, if you're sick, if you have a disease, it's a different story. I'm talking about the average person that's trying to switch to a raw vegan diet but failing for many of these reasons I'm suggesting. So more sleep, get some more greens in your diet. If you can grow your food, all the better. Exercise is important. And then I want to talk about supplementation. When it comes to supplements, I would like to say we don't need supplements if we're living natural in nature and everything else, but the reality is most people aren't growing their food, they're not getting the nutrients they need, and they're not doing this with wisdom. They're just buying store-bought fruit, which is unripe usually when it's picked. It's been sitting on the shelf for a long time. After growing my own fruit, I have fruit trees and so on, I've learned that store-bought fruit is not good, and it's why many people fail at doing a raw vegan diet, because all they're doing is eating raw vegan food from the store. The fresher the food, the better. If you're going to get recipes, make it yourself, so it's not sitting out for 3 days in a restaurant. If you're going to eat vegetables and fruits, try to grow it yourself if you can. That's why sprouts are so important, because we don't all have gardens where we can grow our own food, but sprouts and sprouting is something everyone can do no matter where you live. You can sprout your own food. And sunflower sprouts and sunflower greens is excellent. So what I have found to work best over the years is for the raw vegan diet, to do it long-term consistency, is there's many different ways to do this, but the Hippocrates Health diet and lifestyle pretty much covers all the bases. And I would recommend you get on their website or learn their program and learn about the sprouting and learn about and all of this. And I used to not be as much into sprouts, but to soak some bean sprouts on the kitchen counter, or grow some sunflower greens, and some people might want to do wheatgrass. I don't particularly do well with wheatgrass, but it did help me when I was sick. But these things are helpful. You don't underestimate the legumes. But legumes in their cooked processed form are not really digestible too well. But in their sprouted form, they're excellent. So I have some mung beans and some other sprouts, some lentil sprouts that I just soak and leave on my countertop, and I throw that in my salad. I have sunflower greens and pea green sprouts that I throw in my salads. All of these protein powders and everything else that people are taking these days are loaded with pea protein, but you can get that from the peas themselves in the sprouted form, and they're excellent. And they break down fine, and the body can utilize them fine. So I want to encourage you all to get more of the greens in your diet. Sleeping is essential if you want to be successful. But I know people go back to the cravings, and the question comes up, is 100% raw food diet necessary? From a physical standpoint, cooked food itself is not poison. If you're eating it with wisdom and you're not eating things that are too processed, you can get away with a little cooked food in your diet, maybe 75 to 80% raw, 15 to 20% cooked. If you don't have a disease, you can do something like that. Even if you have a disease, you might be able to get away with that. The problem, though, with cooked food is you're not letting go of the cravings. So even though you don't eat a small amount of cooked food, but you're craving cooked food. Cooked food is very addicting, especially grains. Me personally, one of the reasons why I think I'm so successful at doing a 100% raw vegan diet over the years is I don't eat grains. And a few times over these last 20-something years when I tried to go back to eating some cooked food, I had no issue if I did anything until I included grains, cooked grains in my diet. Now, when I started doing cooked grains in my diet, all the cravings for potatoes and bread and everything else came back. And then it became a real challenge to do this. So if you can get away from all the grains and the processed grains, that would be a big step. But I believe the smart way to do it is to just make sure you're having enough greens, you got enough sprouts, and enough sleep and exercise. To me, I wouldn't be able to do this without exercising. I mean, I for a little while maybe, but I need the exercise. And for my blood work, I've seen a tremendous difference when I exercise and when I don't exercise. So now somebody might say, well, if I'm sick, how can I exercise? You know, I know some people are sick and you need some rest in certain situations, and I don't want you to overwork yourself in those situations. So the suggestions I'm making here are for the average person that's just looking to improve their diet and lifestyle. When somebody's sick or has a particular disease, there's certain things you might need to do and pace yourself in a different way. The other thing I want to discuss is with supplements. Vitamin B12 supplement, vitamin D, vitamin K. These things for most people are important because we're not going to necessarily always get it from our food. So those are some supplements you want to consider. Enzymes, digestive enzymes, if you are eating cooked food, are definitely very helpful. And there's something I have found that's really a whole food in the supplement form that's absolutely amazing, and that's the Valasta Astaxanthin. Now, most astaxanthin on the market, which is an algae, and by the way, seaweed is another thing I include in my diet. The sea vegetables are a tremendous part of my diet, and when I've interviewed people in all my books, I ask them, what is missing? What's the superfood? What's the best food we can get in our diet that people don't get enough from? And they all said sea vegetables. And I make sure over the years I've included a good amount of seed vegetables in my diet. But the Valasta astaxanthin is an algae, and in this Valasta form, it's much more absorbable, and it's a game changer. It makes a tremendous difference, and I have many videos on my website about this. If you're sick, know somebody with cancer or arthritis, this is a must. But the key is we want to get as much nutrients in our body as possible with the least amount of work to get rid of the waste that's left over. That's the formula for health that I speak about so often. And astaxanthin here is 16 times stronger than the lycopene that's found in tomatoes and things like this that's often missed, because when you cook tomatoes, that's where it comes out, or that's where you get it. But if you're eating it raw, you're not necessarily going to get it. It's stronger than carotene. It's much stronger than the carotene you get from the carrots without all the extra added sugar that you get from the carrots. It's 800 times stronger than the coenzyme Q10, which is an enzyme that's so helpful for health. 3,000 times stronger than versatile, which is found in grapes, and the antioxidants that are found in there. This has more antioxidants than any other food source known on the planet. And 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C. The anti-inflammatory response to this is astaxanthin is greater than anything else you'll find, even turmeric and other things that are natural. So I make sure I take this. I take vitamin B12, and these, I don't need many supplements. I take a vitamin K, a vitamin D, but you want to watch if you're going to be on a long-term raw vegan diet. Some things you want to watch is your bone density. You want to make sure that that's okay. And if not, you might have to step it up with your supplementation and things like this, and your exercise, and believe it or not. Another thing you want to look at is your cholesterol. And people would say, well, if I'm not eating animals, how could I have high cholesterol? Well, for a long time, I struggled with high cholesterol, even on a raw vegan diet. And I found out I was overeating. I was eating too late. And I wasn't getting enough sleep, and I wasn't exercising enough cardiovascular exercise. And that's something to consider, because a lot of people don't realize that high cholesterol is not just related to high fat, it's also related to high sugar. So if you're overeating on the fruits, you know, you might not understand this, but modern science says, oh, fat is what's related to cholesterol. But I know a good amount of raw vegans that have high cholesterol, and when they lower their fruit intake, their cholesterol comes down. Now, somebody might say, well, I know a raw vegan that eats a lot of fruit and they don't have high cholesterol. A lot of them are exercising a lot, more than they would possibly need to if they weren't eating so much high sugar. So you don't want to overdo the sugar. I think it should be at least an equal balance, if not less, and it all depends on the quantity of the food you're eating. So if you're eating a good amount of greens and you're getting a good amount of fruits, that's okay. But if you're eating too many greens and too much fruit and too much food in general for the body, things can get out of order. So blood work is really important to check. Now, I don't want to confuse anyone. The raw vegan diet is wonderful. It's not difficult. I have other videos talking about how simple it is to sprout food and to grow my food. It's been a wonderful thing, but it's not something I've always done. I just see a great improvement, especially knowing where my food's coming from. But either way, we want to make sure that we're doing the best we can do. And if your goal is to be as successful at 100% raw vegan diet, I want to help you and encourage you how to do that. Again, it's been over 20 years, maybe 25 years that I've been eating this way, and I've learned a lot, and I feel better than I've ever felt before, and I'm just glad I've been open to these ways of learning, because I'm taking it to the next level. Because of COVID and everything that was going on, they shut down my gym, and I wasn't exercising as much. Big difference, big difference. Game changer for me. And this Astaxanthin, wonderful, wonderful help in things to make sure I'm getting what I need. The sprouting, all of these things are a tremendous benefit. If you have comments and questions, I do coaching. If you want some help that way, personal one-on-one. But if you have other comments and questions, general, post them below this video, and I'm here to help you. All right, everybody, look at all my other videos. I have thousands out there if you have specific questions on topics. But I promise you, I'm a raw vegan that's very fit. I go out. I'm very fit. I do a lot of work, and I'm active. And my weight. That's another thing I didn't discuss is weight. You want to make sure your weight is not too low, but not too high. You want to be in the right weight. Weight can be a tremendous messenger to tell you if what you're doing is working for you or not. And I said this a long time. Your gut should not stick out more than your chest. So when you're at home, whatever diet you're doing, whether it's a standard American diet or a vegetarian diet or a raw diet, stand sideways in the mirror, and if your gut is sticking out more than your chest, consider maybe you're not doing something that you should be doing, and consider making some changes. All right, so those are just some tips here. Put your comments and questions below, everybody. Thank you for watching. Have a great day and a great raw life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.